Bang. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, this is gonna be a long one, Oh, hey Z-Dog, thanks for the follow. Okay, so we got a lot of stuff to go through. Oh boy. Now, before we actually start the thing, I should mention that the way I'm going to be ranking this, it's gonna be a mixture of both personal opinion and just how good the episode is, like both personal attachment as well as just how I believe how good the episode is. With that all said, I recently rewatched all of the episodes too, some more than others, but with that said, let's get right into it. I'm just gonna put on some music. Okay, it shouldn't be too loud, that's good enough. Anyways, oh boy, we got a lot of these. I'm already starting to regret doing this. Okay, starting off, OG, first episode, Boba Fett versus Samus Aran. Well, for obvious reasons, it's like the first episode, so it obviously has aged quite a bit, to say the least. But like obviously, you can't really compare it to like more modern episodes now. But at the same time, I'll argue. Yeah, I'm just putting it at 5 cents. It's the first episode. It's the first episode. I gotta give it that much at least. Kuma versus Zhang. I prefer the Sakuma episode, and that kind of speaks volumes considering it's the second episode in all Death Battle. It's honestly a 6 for me. I actually go back to this one every now and then, despite how old it is. It's alright, honestly. Yeah, the sprites don't match too well, but it's a better Akuma episode, and that's kind of sad. But we'll get to that when we get to that, which is a long way off. Rogue versus Wonder Woman. Now, this one I didn't really like. Again, I'm trying not to add in the fact how a good chunk of the stuff is dated because of how old several of the episodes are. But at the same time, it's just not. This one's not good. Not good. Again, I'm trying to be fair. I'm giving it a 3 at least. You know what? Actually, nah. This is a lot better. Goomba versus Koopa. First, I guess you could consider this the first real joke episode. Not 100% sure, but aside from that, I'm not 100% sure how I should rank this one exactly, cause it's sort of a joke. Again, it's early, but hasn't aged too well. But yeah, Hector versus Zangief. Yeah, I think that's a good placement. Honestly, it's alright. Yeah. TMNT Battle Royale. This one's an interesting one to place because it's the first Battle Royale episode, obviously. But aside from that, surprisingly, I don't remember too much happening in this one, like that I need to stick out. I guess I'll give around there. Then we got, oh yeah, funny thing is that the thumbnail doesn't use actual renders of it, this uses paper masks. Anyways, then we get to Zid versus Leonardo. It's slightly better. I think they could have done a little more with the environment. Again, it's older, so obviously they have a smaller budget, but at the same time, I feel like they could have done a bit more with it. Then we have Yoshi versus Richter. This one's kind of funny, but it's also like really, really short. Like, yeah, I think around there is like I think around there. Then we have Felicia versus Taukaka. Nothing much really happens in this one. I'm still surprised this one actually ended up being an episode, but nah, early death battle's weird. With that said, it's not terrible. Guess I'd put it here, really. Just not a lot happens. Yeah, and yeah, it's fantasy game. Yeah, it's a pretty solid like first. The Michelangelo episode. The 20 battle royale's okay. It's just a lot of the Michelangelo jokes haven't aged well, and I'm not going to elaborate further on why they didn't exactly age well because I don't want to get kicked off of Twitch. Next up, we have Kratos versus Spawn. This one I actually really like, surprisingly. This one, I actually go back to this one quite a bit. It's not terrible. The sprites are a little blurry and limited, but again, they had to work with what they had. And with what they had, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't actually that bad. I honestly want to put it around here and good. It's not. Again, it's a season 1 episode, so it's obviously aged, but at the same time, I find it pretty enjoyable. Then we got Bomberman versus Dig Dug. I don't really know what to say. This one's okay. For a good chunk, you're gonna hear me saying this a lot, but a lot of episodes are just early on just okay. Like, which is surprising because most of the time you'd assume they'd be bad with how poorly they aged, but it's not terrible. Bomberman vs. Dig Dug, not terrible. I'd honestly put it around here. Yeah, I think that's fair. Vegito versus Shadow. Shadow's first episode, and it's actually pretty funny considering they got Vegeta's a British voice actor to reprise his role. It's not a bad episode. There's we have 2 more Shadow. I'll put it around here. Actually, yeah, a bit above Kuma versus Zhang. There are 2 more Shadow episodes we're gonna go over, and eventually I'll have good things to say about one of them and really bad things to say about the other. Okay. OG Mario versus Sonic. Again, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but a lot of the things here haven't aged as well. It's honestly decent for what we got, though. I'd honestly, I'd put it at top and decent so far. Next we have Luke versus Terry. I go a bit creative what they managed to do with it. Not terrible. It was alright. Nothing I could like say hit home or like stood out or stuff like that, but it was okay. Then we get on to Chun-Li versus Maestro Nui. This one was hilariously short. I think it might be one of the shortest death battles ever. Yeah, it's honestly, it just goes in. Goes on top of that, it's over so quickly. You don't get enough time to like absorb all of it. It just happens, and it's like boom, done. Then we have Starscream versus Rainbow Dash. This one is I think this one was kind of stupid, honestly. I guess I could see some people find it funny. No, I kind of find this one stupid. Like right around here. I honestly didn't like this one that much. Master Chief versus Doom Guy. Ignore how the thumbnail has Doomslayer. This one didn't age too terribly. It's not bad. It's not terrible. It's alright. It's alright. It's alright. It's... Yeah, pretty much. Eggman versus Wiley. Eggman versus Wiley is like alright. Yeah, it's a bit slow in some areas, but it was alright, honestly. I want to say... I think here's honestly a decent placement for it. Zelda versus Peach. This one was okay, honestly. I had a couple issues with it, but it's not terrible. It's a lot more fast-paced compared to some of the other episodes, so I'll give it at least a good. It was Zelda sprite kind of did look off, considering they just shrunk down her Smash Brawl sprites and her Smash Brawl model into sprites, if I recall correctly. But it was surprisingly smooth, I'll say. And then next up we have Thor versus Raiden. This is actually a surprisingly really fun episode. I actually go back to this one quite a bit. It's a lot better than the other Thor episode, which we'll get to later. But this one is actually like surprisingly. This one holds up like pretty decently even today. Actually, I actually really like this one. Like I can't fully explain why, but it's just there's like a lot of many details in there that I really like, which would be surprising considering it's a season 1 episode. But the thing is, it's pretty much summed up to like if Thor hits Raiden with the hammer once, Raiden dies, and that the animation shows that actually. Raiden actually gets hit with the hammer only once, and that's what the deciding blow pretty much is. It's finally like it's really well done. Also, the music it shows is really cool. It's really nice. Honestly, it's amazing. Honestly, it aged a bit, but it surprisingly holds up fairly well. Original OG Link versus Cloud. Okay, this one's definitely one of the episodes that shows its age the most, because this was the first 3D episode, and like just them having the Cloud's case wasn't as bad, but Link just had the exact same blank expression, which it was even worse because it's like unlike Cloud's, whose default expression looks serious, Link's was just like the blank face you get in default in like 3D animators. It was an unfortunate issue, but it's the first 3D episode, so I gotta give it like some credit. But yeah. Batman versus Spiderman. Another episode that aged like really, really well. I do like this. It's one of the better Batman episodes, which we'll have a lot to get on with later. It surprisingly handles it does choreography really well, which surprised me considering it's a season 1 episode. I'm honestly gonna I'll put it here honestly. It has something to the fact like Spider-Man was the only one that had the voice clips while Bruce was just completely silent the whole time. But it's not terrible. Then we got Pikachu versus Blanca. I don't really know what to say about this. It's just kind of there for me. It's kind of funny in several ways, but it just didn't click for me, honestly. I want to put it mediocre top. Yeah. Oh boy. Now we get to one of the big ones. Goku versus Superman. I honestly don't know exactly how to describe it, but Goku versus Superman, despite the salt people have for the episode, I honestly really like the episode. I go back to it several times. It's just like a lot of love put into this episode, and it's just really well done. I don't know how to elaborate further. It's just a really good episode. He-Man versus Lion-O. Okay, this one is another interesting one. This is another. I like this episode a lot because what it did is that it feels the writing as well as just the overall tone of the episode feels like an episode of both of their series. It's really interesting how they did that, and it had really solid vocal performances as well. I'm actually gonna give this one a 10 out of 10. I really like this episode. I can't think of any real flaws to it. It's just very solid overall. Shao Kahn versus M. Bison. This one is honestly pretty good. Nothing too big that hits home for me. But it's just surprisingly just a pretty fun episode. It's better than Shao Kahn's other episode, which we'll get to later. But yeah, Ryu Hayabusa versus Strider Hiryu. I'm honestly giving this one a 9 out of 10 because again, this one's a mix of just personal bias because Strider Hiryu is one of my favorite characters. It's just overall very solid episode. I think what would make it a 10 is if they got a Ryu Hayabusa sprite that actually looked like Ryu Hayabusa. Ivy versus Orchid. I guess it's all right, honestly. I don't really go back to this one too much, but I guess it's yeah, I think it's a fair placement, honestly. Not terrible, but I don't really look at it too much. Fox versus Bucky O'Hare. This one actually surprised me, I think, because I didn't really like it for the idea. It kind of seemed stupid at first, but when the actual episode, when I saw the actual fight, it surprised me. It had a surprisingly really good kill, and I kind of find that hilarious. Yeah, honestly, pretty good. Honestly, top of pretty good. Terminator versus Robocop. This is a really good episode, but like a Link versus Cloud, it really ends up showing its age. It's not as bad on Terminator, but you can definitely see a lot more of it on Robocop. Luigi versus Tails. Okay, honestly, this one kind of just happened for me. It's not terrible. I just didn't really care much for it, unfortunately. Then we get to the Pokemon Battle Royale. The Kanto Starter Battle Royale. I guess this one was a pretty big improvement over the last Battle Royale, since obviously they had more time and stuff, but I don't know. Didn't click too much with me. I guess it was pretty good, I guess. I know, not for just regular good, in my opinion. Around here. Fulgor versus Sector. This one was one of the more forgettable episodes. It's not bad, it's just there. I guess they just needed an opponent for Fulgor and couldn't really think of anyone else. I'm honestly surprised Sector of all characters actually got into Death Battle. Godzilla versus Gamera. This one's another really good one. Only real issue is the water effects. But then again, its water's very, very difficult to animate. But aside from that, it's like a very solid episode. It's a bit slow in some areas, but I think that kind of fits considering it's a kaiju style fight. Batman versus Captain America. This was literally just because the Batman fans were salty about Batman vs Spider-Man. It's not really that good. It's not terrible. Like, it's what we got was fine, but it's just pretty mediocre. Yeah, I don't really like going back to this one. Like, of all the episodes, it's not really that good. Tiger Zord versus Gundam Epion. I only go back to this one because Kirby-Fur's performance as Tommy Oliver is like a spot-on impression of Jason David Frank. But aside from that, like the other voice acting is pretty bad, and it's just, not. It's I want to say like in the good area, but mostly just Kirby-Fur's performance as Tommy Oliver pretty much carries most of the thing. It's just scary how good of an impression he does for Jason David Frank. And then we go into Ryu versus Scorpion. This one's another surprising one because it surprisingly holds up like really, really well. Like this one's honestly a solid 8. Honestly, I'm gonna put it in spectacular. Honestly, it has some issues. Obviously, nowadays the verdict would be Ryu would have won, but it's just it's surprisingly the episode just holds up like surprisingly really well. Like you could see it as like a season 5 or 6 episode because the animation is just really good. Like the only issue is that when Ryu switches to his evil Ryu sprites, they're blatantly his Street Fighter Alpha sprites, which are have like a different style compared to Street Fighter Beast sprites. But aside from that, it's just like really solid. Also, use a better sprite choice for Scorpion instead of like the hyper realistic ones that the older Mortal Kombat games had, and that's great. Okay, Deadpool versus Deathstroke. This one is an interesting one because it's actually just really, really good. I'm honestly gonna put this one in like bottom 10 out of 10. It's just really good because this was Deadpool at his best for Death Battle. Yeah, he was somewhat memeing, but at the same time, he was also like a bit of a serious character in some areas, and just him being the silly to like Deadpool serious makes for like some really good dialogue. Also, it's just animated like superbly well too. Then we get to Kirby versus Majin Buu. I remember hearing there was controversy with this one for salty Dragon Ball Z fans. I didn't really care much, but Kirby winning is extremely based. It's a bit oddly, I'm honestly gonna put it in like top amazing. It is slow in some areas, like a lot slower. Like they take their time in several of the spots. But it's a pretty decent episode overall. Okay, Ragnar versus Soul. Yeah, the research is terrible, unfortunately, because poor Nick had to do both BlazBlue and Guilty Gear, which that's already gonna be a headache. Ragnar versus Soul, it has the best joke in the series, being the That Man joke in Soul's analysis, but the fight itself is just kind of meh. It has like weird. It's pretty fast-paced, like you'd expect from an Arxis characters, but at the same time, it's just kind of off. Also, another thing I don't like is like that blatantly disrespect some of the characters. Like, yeah, I'm personally biased towards this one because Ragnar's my favorite character, but at the same time, it's just kind of a slap in the face, really. It's not a terrible episode, honestly, overall. Like, I honestly want to put it in like top of decent. Like the some of the interactions we do get is pretty good, but it's just not disrespecting both like BlazBlue and Guilty Gear like that. Just Death Battle's best when they blatantly respect and the characters, not when they're made jokes of. Especially Rockman's case, because his was just a really dumb. His end quote was really stupid, and Soul's it wasn't really even an end quote. It was just a random clip of him from a cutscene that doesn't really get anything across either. But unlike other cases where the end quote is like just an action of them, you get something cool, like Iron Man blowing up a tank, or a War Machine gunning down a bunch of enemies. You just have Soul just showing up in front of a pillar of like energy, and that's all we get. Okay. Oh boy. Gara versus Toph. The animation's fine. It's just, yeah, the verdict's pretty bad, but honestly, this one I just don't really like it. Like, it's in one of the more blatantly obviously incorrect verdicts. It's just not good all around, honestly. It has some good stuff, I'll say that. Like, I went back and watched this terrible as I remembered. Like, the animation's fine, but this one just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Boba Fett vs. Samus Aran remastered. Honestly, I'm just gonna put this one like a tier above. Like honestly, like top of pretty good. Like animation's like really a lot better since like Torian did it this time around. At the same time, like it's just a remaster. Like there's nothing too good I could say like that like stood out for me. It was all right though. Chuck Norris versus Segata Sanshiro. Now this is how you do a joke battle, and I'm absolutely gonna put this one in like the best. It's like it's just really fun episode, which is honestly how a joke battle should be done. Also, it's immediately based because it references how Segata's actor was the first Kamen Rider, and that's incredible. It also acknowledges the fact that no Kamen Rider exists. Anyways, Guts versus Nightmare. This one's another example of like the verdict bad, but at the same time, this one feels like really good. I really like this episode because it feels like a random just berserk chapter. Like, yeah, honestly, like, I want to put this one in top pretty good. Like, it sells how they handle like the whole verdict being like this is what Guts does every single day. Yeah, like it acts like it too. It's like a normal berserk chapter. At the same time, they're kind of like downplaying Nightmare and like it's almost like they're fodderizing him, but it's not terrible. It's not terrible. Oh, Iron Man versus Lex Luthor. This episode is just incredible. It's hard to explain, but words can't do justice just how good this episode is. Just especially just everything with the finale and just like Tony donning the endosim and use that incredible like speech of his. It's like it's all really well done. And I guess what sells it a lot is just like it's really the interactions are fantastic. This is absolutely at the top. I just love this. Is an incredible episode. Yeah, I'd argue it's better than Goku vs. Superman. It's just an incredible episode. Okay, I'm definitely gonna have to make a tier for the watermark because this site is terrible. Now we get to Beast versus Goliath. We go from incredible to just bad. It's a short fight, doesn't really do much. The fight is out of character, doesn't even convey the main connections between the two. I hate this fight so much. It's bad. It's fucking awful. Then we switch back from terrible back to immediately incredible, because then we have Snake versus Sam Fisher. This is one of the episodes that I really like because it actually does what I want. It's a stealth episode, so they actually use the environment to their advantage, and it's really well done. I really like that. It makes me very happy that they actually went like that. It fits into both of them really well. And just, the vocal performances are really good because Christopher Sabat does an incredible job as Solid Snake. Doctor Doom, Darth Vader versus Doctor Doom. I go back to this one more than I do the other Doom episode because just solely for the fact that it's just like a lot more fun. Like Doom's dialogue is a lot more limited, but I just really like this episode. I honestly give it like top of pretty good. I just really like going back to it. It's a very fun episode, to say the least. Oh boy. Goku versus Superman 2. And I'm gonna just put it in like, I'm gonna put it on top of pretty good. Like, issues with the thing aside, the animation is like really well done. I really do like the animation, but other stuff for it, it's not that good. Okay, Donkey Kong versus Knuckles. I'm gonna put this one at like, I'm gonna put this one like pretty good, right above Terminator versus Robocop. Actually, no, above the remastered. It would get higher if 90% of Knuckles' dialogue wasn't the exact same clip of "Oh no" over and over again. It's just not good. Like, it's also fine, but just making them Knuckles' dialogue that one stupid joke over and over again was not good. Okay, then we get the Wolverine versus Raiden. This one's a 10 out of 10 episode, honestly. Just like, while it's not as like story like as good as the two above it, it just stands out above the other two, about all that, just for how well done the choreography is and how brutal the episode is overall, which is fitting considering which characters it uses. It's really well done. I really like it. Okay, then we get to Hercule Satan versus Dan Hibiki. This is a fun episode. This is honestly a very fun episode overall. It has elements of like a joke episode without actually being a joke episode, and I really like that. It's just I also it has like, I'd honestly put it like bottom of the best. It's just a really, really fun episode, and like rest in peace to Dan's voice actor. He's incredible. Then we go to oh boy. Yang versus Tifa. This one was, I believe, infamous because I believe this is where like Rooster Teeth bias accusations were coming from. But here's the thing I should mention. Yang vs. Tifa came out before Rooster Teeth bought Screw Attack, before they changed their name to Death Battle. That, and also just the fact is that I'm pretty sure because of how research was back then, I think that's why, with how research was back then, I think it makes sense. I think Screw Attack really did believe that Yang won legitimately. Like, yeah, if you do it nowadays, Yang dies horrendously, but it's aside from that, like, honestly, the episode, the choreography is honestly, like, still pretty solid even today. It is a little bit biased in Yang's favor with, like, the fact that her theme song is one that plays during the second half of the fight, but at the same time, I really do like that episode. I go back to it every now and then. Mega Man vs. Astral Boy. This one's not terrible, it's just, this one was kind of boring, at least in my opinion. It's like here, honestly. It's not terrible, but it just wasn't as eye-catching to me compared to like other episodes. And then we get to Green Arrow versus Hawkeye. This one's honestly an underrated Marvel vs. DC episode. I really do like this one. It's just like, it's pretty creative with how they use the arrows for both of them. Like, honestly, I want to say right there, yeah. It's like a very decent, it's like a serviceable episode. It's not bad, but it's not awful. It's just above average. It's pretty good. Pokemon versus Digimon, or Charizard versus Greymon. I don't know what it is about this episode, but this one just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I want to like it, but at the same time I just don't. I want to say it's just like pretty decent. It's not awful by any means. It's just, I guess it's just honestly with how they handled like the death and everything that just left a really bad taste in my mouth. Then we go to so now we go and move into season 3. We get into Dante versus Bayonetta. Again, verdict aside, I'm putting this like very high. I'm putting like right over here because the animation is absolutely spectacular for this episode. They absolutely went Torian absolutely went all out on this, and it's amazing. And then, yeah, it's again verdict issues, but aside from that, it's very solid. Bowser versus Ganondorf. I have a mixed opinion on this one, but I think it's mostly in just like decent. I think my main problem is like it has weird pacing, and Ganon's Ganon sprites are like very bad, but understandably they didn't really have much to draw on from because all of Ganon's sprites are top down, so it was kind of like it just looked very odd. Ratchet and Clank versus Jak and Daxter. This one's like a painfully average good episode, you could say. Like, it's good. Yeah, it is good. I'll give it that, but it just doesn't hit as hard compared to like other episodes. Aside from like, I guess the final part, but aside from that, it's just. I will say I did like the analysis though. The analysis, especially Jak and Daxter, is really funny. Flash versus Quicksilver. This one just gets in like. This one honestly gets in like. Top of mediocre. It has like a really. It does convey the speed, but it doesn't really manage to do much aside from that. Has like some issues, like with for some reason Barry's eyes keep changing color every other frame. I don't understand why that's happening. Aside from that, it's just. I can't really say too much on it. Aside from. It does have a really good one. Barry, after drawing Quicksilver into the Speed Force, the speech he gives is absolutely incredible. Right before he deals like with the just keeps getting faster and faster as he beats down on Quicksilver. That's really well done. And while the death was kind of lame at first, there's a certain episode that we'll get to later that makes it even better in hindsight. Aside from that, it just gets mediocre for me. Joker versus Sweet Tooth. This one's an interesting one. Because I'm honestly gonna give it like amazing, just like right here. It has some issues, like honestly the vehicle bit at the beginning was like cool, but then they got rid of the vehicle partway into it. They did a really great round of the Dark Knight with like Joker goading Needles trying to run him over, and like the kill was killing. But at the same time, it's just it's good. I'll give it that. It's good. It's not terrible or anything. It's a really good episode, but I feel like they could have done some more. I guess it just got a lot more. I believe it's the most viewed season 3 episode, and that's probably thanks to just like the Joker movie happening. And aside from that, it's kind of funny when you think about how Joker, if they use like modern calc stuff, Joker would probably be strong enough to suplex the sweet spot, and that's hilarious. Next, we get into This is not a good episode. Holy hell. It's not. The animation is terrible. I think it just blatantly disrespects Shadow as a character. I believe Takada was told to do bad voice acting on purpose. And the animation was kind of rushed on purpose. It's not a good episode. It's like a blatant, it's almost like a spite episode, which I'm not surprised if it is. It's just not good. I'm sorry. It's just not good. Anyways, Meta versus Carolina. This one was a surprisingly decent one. Yeah, it's red versus blue, but at the same time, it's just it's a really good choreography. Is really well done. The original song is fantastic. It honestly gets a 9 out of 10 for me. Maybe they used non-red. It wasn't just like a same series episode. It could have done a lot better, in my opinion. But at the same time, apparently there's some kind of thing that prevents red versus blue characters from fighting anyone other than their own series. I don't understand that. Anyways, Cammy versus Sonya's. Honestly, I don't like this episode either. It's not good. It's just fight's kind of short. Just sprites, and it's just. I don't like the episode. It's not good. Next up, Tracer versus Scout. And it's like good, honestly. Like around here, I guess I don't really understand what people's had issues. It's an okay episode in my opinion. I don't understand why people were so upset about this one. I think there was like some kind of like. I think it was like, I believe that the verdict's wrong from what I hear, and Scout should have won, but, I don't have too strong attachment to either series, so I can't really comment too much. Oh, Ken versus Terry. I really like this episode. This is honestly an underrated, I'm honestly going to put this one in, like, right here. It's a heavily underrated episode. Like, yeah, it doesn't do destruction as much compared to, like, some of the other episodes. But it's like a huge improvement, like compared to like the last Street Fighter and Sprite episode. But I just really like it. It may be because, again, it might be because I'm biased towards both Ken and Terry's characters, but it's an okay episode. I like it. Amy versus Ramona. I just don't care about this episode really. It's an okay animation, but I just can't really bring myself to care much about it. I did enjoy it though. The fact that they played Night of Nights of All song, the speed up version of Sake's theme from Toho is just hilarious. Hulk versus Doomsday. I can't say too much. Just the sheer destructive power this episode gives off is incredible. Incredible, but yeah, it's just really, really good. Like, holy hell. You can just feel every single punch and hit in the episode, and it's great. It's a lot better than the other Hulk episode, which we'll get to later. And then we get to Zoro versus Ursa. This one's another example of a mixed episode. It's like, apparently, I think like the kill's like pretty damn brutal for what we actually got, but it's not a bad episode, I'll give it that. It's fine. Deadpool vs. Pinkie Pie, I do not like it. I do not like it at all. I guess, I know it's supposed to be a joke and a meme. I don't like it. I don't like it. Okay. Lara Croft versus Nathan Drake. I honestly forget this one, surprisingly. I forget this one a lot more than you might expect. It's just... It's alright, I'll give it that, but it's just... I don't really remember it that much compared to like other episodes. It's alright. Next, Scrooge McDuck versus Shovel Knight. This one I'm honestly gonna give into, like, good. I think what drags it down for me is just, like, how brutal the kill is. which just clashes with like the overall tone of the episode. Not bad though, not bad. Venom versus Bane is... it's mediocre. It's bottom decent for me, honestly. It has like a lot of issues with like jarring cuts here and there because of how bad the initial Rooster Teeth version is. It's but it's just not good. But it's better than the other Venom episode, which we'll get to later. Power Rangers versus Voltron. The models for the Megazord and Voltron itself are really good. The models for the individual Zords, the individual lines, as well as just the pilots, not so good. Honestly, it's pretty good, honestly. I'd put it like... yeah, I want to put it right there, right behind the Goku versus Superman. And I know how a lot of people like that, the best line being, give him covering fire. With what? Everything. A lot of people do like that line, and I like it too. But my problem is it's Matt Pat doing the voice. And it's like, nothing against Matt Pat. Like, the delivery was really good. The problem is I don't hear Keith from Voltron. I just hear Matt Pat. And that annoys me a lot. Like, that was another issue this episode did have, is like, voice acting was solid. But you don't hear them as the characters for the most part. A lot of them, you just hear them as the YouTubers, which is extremely bad because it's like the YouTubers are in the fight themselves, not the actual characters. I just heard Peanut Butter Gamer and Space Hamster. I did not hear Lance or Billy the Blue Power Ranger. It's like, the voice acting is not terrible. It's just, you just hear the YouTubers. It's not like Matt Pat's the leader of Voltron, the Voltron Lion Force instead of Keith. It's kind of funny. Natsu versus Ace. This one was a surprising one, honestly. It's not. It's actually I actually do like this episode. It's a really good firefight. Like it could have done a bit more, honestly. But honestly, it just did enough. It just did enough. But the fire, sometimes they went a little too much on the fire and made things a lot more difficult to see. But aside from that, it's pretty solid. Sub-Zero versus Glacius. This is a pretty mediocre episode. But here's the odd thing. Despite how mediocre it is, like, realistically, I'd probably put it, like, right here. I actually really like this episode from a personal standpoint. Because I don't know, maybe it's because I'm biased towards Ice. Ice is like my favorite element, and Sub-Zero is my favorite Mortal Kombat character, and Glacius is pretty interesting himself. But I find myself going back to it a lot. It's not, it's pretty meh. But I like going back to it. Maybe it's just because I like watching bad stuff. I don't know. Android 18 versus Captain Marvel. It's... honestly, I'm just gonna put it, like, right... I feel like this is honestly appropriate. This is an honestly appropriate placement. It does some decent stuff here and there, but... did this episode really need to happen? It's not bad, I'll say that. It's not awful. It has some issues. I believe that there was like some verdict issues here and there too, but it's not awful. I guess it's mostly because Carol sucks, but anyways. Battle Sonic versus Zero. This one's kind of a below average episode, but I honestly like this. I like go back to this one like a lot solely because it's freaking Zero we're talking about here. Like, I'd honestly put it, like, right at the top of good. Like, they could obviously do more for it, but I just, again, I'm biased towards this one because it's Zero, and Zero's just really cool. There you honestly, maybe Zero get a different matchup later, but it's not bad. Anyways, Lucario versus Renamon. This is honestly one of the more forgettable episodes in the series. I honestly keep forgetting that this episode actually happened. And I'm just gonna put it in like... It's not bad, no, it's far from that. It's just kind of short and just there. I just keep forgetting it actually happened as an episode. Oh, and we get into another amazing episode. We got Balrog versus TJ Combo. Choreography is fantastic. Overall usage of those characters are well done. Torian treated this fight well, and it's great. It's just a really, really good episode. Like, holy hell. Shredder vs. Silver Samurai. This is a surprising episode, because I don't think anyone expected this episode to be as good as it ended up being. And I think that's great. I'm honestly gonna put this one in like top of spectacular because it's surprisingly really good. Like, only thing that dragged it down is they use a sped up version of the song for some reason. I think Brandon said there was some kind of like communication error, but aside from that, it's just like holds up like really well. It's a really fun episode, surprisingly. Then we get into Smokey versus McGruff. This is a fine joke episode, I'd say. I really think they could have... maybe they could have done more, I'm not 100% sure. But... it's honestly funny, and just how they utilize both characters is like really creative. Especially just like how the kill is. It's pretty good, honestly. I'll honestly put it like... right here, honestly. Thor versus Wonder Woman. It has some stuff, but the problem is it unfortunately suffers around as bad as Venom versus... It suffers issues from like both Venom versus Bane. Like, it has a lot of jarring cuts, and also just a good chunk of the animation seems unfinished. So I honestly need to like put in like mediocre. Like, I actually want to put it like right here, really. Nah, like right. You know, right here. Honestly, it has a lot of problems, especially with just like unfinished textures here and there. Just like weird jarring cuts. It's just not very good. Naruto versus Ichigo. Now, if you followed me for a while, you know that this is actually my... I'm gonna just move it up right now. This is my all-time favorite death battle just of all time for just like a myriad of reasons. Because Naruto vs. Ichigo was a matchup I wanted ever before I even got into death battle. And like, yeah, the animation does have some issues here and there. Like, especially just for some reason, the saturation's like up ridiculously high. I don't understand how that happened. But it just, the animation just has like a lot of charm to it. There's some cuts, but I just really like it. And just, the best part is the fact that they got Johnny Young Bosch to reprise his role as Ichigo. And that is just incredible. I gotta give them, the fact that they got Johnny Young Bosch is incredible. That alone says just enough on how great that is. Then we go on to, Batman Beyond vs. Spider-Man 2099. It's... honestly, this episode is unfortunately pretty mediocre. Like, right there. It's like, the episode's short, they could have done a lot more with it. And now, Terry's analysis is good, but Miguel's is kind of meh. Verdict's kind of iffy, but aside from that, it's not too good. I watch this one every now and then, but only because I just like both Terry and Miguel as characters. Sephiroth versus Virgil. This one's not bad, honestly. It's the only thing it really suffers from is just like weird clipping issues on Virgil's like coat. But aside from that, I'm honestly gonna put this one in like Honestly, top of amazing. I really do like the episode. It's pretty decent overall. Alright, we just finished season 4. We got 4 more seasons to go. I'm finishing this a lot quicker than I thought I'd be. Anyways. Black Panther versus Batman. A lot of people were tired for Batman coming back for a 3rd time, but honestly, I find myself enjoying this episode a lot more than others do. Like, honestly, of the 4 Batman fights, this one uses the environment just, like, really, really well. Like, yeah, it's slow in some areas, but I really like it, honestly. I also am gonna put it in, like, good. Like, right around here. Yeah, it's nothing to sing praises about. I don't know. I really like this episode. Maybe it's because it's Black Panther, and T'Challa's just, like, really cool, but it's alright. Raven versus Twilight Sparkle. Why did this happen instead of Raven versus Scarlet Witch, I'll never know. But aside from that, overall episode is just kind of mediocre, really. Like, yeah, there's some funny moments here and there, but it's just nothing to sing praises about. Jotaro versus Kenshiro. I really wanted to like this episode, but in hindsight, it's not that good. I'm honestly gonna go to, like, top of that. Like, if you compare this, it has some decent stuff here and there, but if you compare this to the 1 minute melee, the 1 minute melee is so much better. Like, there's a lot more they could have done, but the problem is there's just, like, a lot of odd animation choices that don't really sell either of the characters. It's just boring, really. Okay, Crash versus Spiral. Okay, this is another issue I had with, like, season 5 when it started out really, really slow. And this one just kept on. Like, it's a bit better, but I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, but I don't really like Crash versus Spiral that much. Like this much is maybe just, like, right there. It's not bad, it's just doesn't click with me compared to other episodes, really. Sora versus Pit. I believe a lot of people consider this episode to be, like, overhated, which I guess I can kind of understand. It's not a bad episode by any means. It's alright, honestly. It's just, I guess in the decent category, I'd put it, like, right here. Or actually, nah, I'm gonna be a lot nicer. I'll put it in, like, good right above OG versus Cloud. Actually, no, now that I put it next there, I think I'll actually put it a little higher, like, right here, actually. Because the casting choices was, like, all pretty damn spot on. Bryce Papenbrook does a pretty decent job as Sora, and Justin Briner does a spot on impression of Pit, and it's great. Leon S. Kennedy versus Frank West. I love this episode so much, holy hell. Like, yeah, you're gonna be surprised, but I'm gonna place it above Dante versus Bayonetta, because it just surprised me how good it is. I love both of the characters, and it's just a really fun fight. Especially just, like, how well they interact with each other. Like, it's really good, because it's more serious to Frank being a bit more comedic. Being like Frank's, like, maybe they could have done more with Frank's arsenal, but I think they did enough. And just the scene of them back fighting the zombies together is, like, really cool. Going on. Doctor Strange versus Dr. Fate. This one's kind of a mixed one. Like, it's really good for what we got, but honestly, there's an oddly surprising amount of hand-to-hand combat, which I think is kind of weird considering these two are magic users. And aside from that, there's also a bit of a missed opportunity. They could have done a lot more when it came to these two, because, you know, they're Marvel and DC's most famous magic users. They could have asked a lot more spells and a lot more creative, but nah, it felt a bit limiting, really. It's a good episode. It is a good episode, but honestly, I felt like they could have really just done a lot more. Okay, then we get to Ryu versus Jin. Verdict aside, I actually really like this episode. Maybe it's because I'm biased towards Ryu as a character. It has like some really good hand-to-hand, and I find it really hilarious how they just decide, you know what, let's make it take place in Ruby, because why the hell not? So it just happened to do that, and it's a pretty decent episode overall. I'll honestly just gonna put it here. I really like the episode. It's a very fun episode. I do go back to it a lot. I guess maybe if they chose to use Japanese voice clip for Jin to like give it the more Tekken feel, I'd like it more, but what we got, I liked. Oh, Samurai Jack versus Afro Samurai. This one's a solid 10 out of 10, like, holy shit. Like, statistically it's better than Leon versus Frank, but I just have more personal feelings towards that episode. But this is like a really, really well done episode. And I believe it's kind of rushed because if I recall correctly, the animator said that he would do this to Ben, but he was drunk at the time. So then he wakes up with a hangover, realizing, shit, I actually need to animate this. Because he also proposed doing it hand-drawn too, and surprisingly, it just turned out really well, and it's really well done. Carnage versus Lucy. This is one of the considered like the best episode for one of my friends, and I actually really like this episode too. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. I'm gonna put it like right above He-Man versus Lino. I really do like the episode. Like, it uses the overall like area really well. It feels like it has this whole like cinematic feel to it. I like both Carnage and Lucy are pretty cool characters, and like voice acting is really good. Daniel McRae does a really good job as Lucy, but Christopher Guerrero steals the show as Carnage. The man sounds like an actual freaking demon, and it's crazy. Going on, okay, Optimus Prime versus the RX-72 gun. I think I got the number wrong, but Optimus Prime versus Gundam. This is an incredible episode. Honestly, it's honestly my number 2. Just because the fact, like, I believe this is what peak battle is. It just has a fantastic animation, a really good analysis, well done verdict. It's just an incredibly good episode. Like, holy hell, I love this episode, man. It's just there's so much good. The only reason Naruto vs. Ichigo is above it is because I have more personal attachment to both Naruto vs. and Ichigo, as well as, you know, Johnny Youngblood for writing his role. But in my opinion, Optimus vs. Gundam is the absolute best quality a death battle can be. Going on. Nightwing versus Daredevil. Okay, this was their first step into live action. So obviously there were gonna be a couple of hiccups here and there, but what we got wasn't actually as bad as one would have expected. It's actually pretty decent, really. It's just, again, they could have done more. I'm honestly gonna give this one like right around here, really. Yeah, I think this one's a really decent. I think that's a decent placement for it. I do like it, but that's mostly because of my attachment to Nightwing and Nightwing as a character. Anyways, Mario vs. Sonic episode 100. I'm honestly gonna put this one in like pretty good. I want to put it in like right around here, right below Goku vs. Superman 2. It's alright, the hand-drawn's pretty decent, but I think there are some parts that they could have done a lot better, like to keep the overall tone of the episode and everything. It's fine though for what we got. Ultron vs. Sigma. I honestly really like the episode. I'm gonna put it like, I prefer it slightly less than Virgil vs. Sephiroth. It's really good. It's like, for a first Marvel vs. Capcom episode, I really like the episode. Also, the original thumbnail was terrifying, and we should never look at it again. Anyways, Roshi versus Jiraiya. This one was like this was the second last episode of season 5, and they went out on a bang. Cause holy hell, this is an incredible episode. Like honestly, I'm gonna put this one like. I think I'm gonna put this one right behind Carnage versus Lucy. Cause holy hell, they went all out for this one, and it's great. Just. And it maybe because I'm partially biased because Jiraiya is one of my favorite Naruto characters as well, but it's really, really good. I can't sell that enough. Thanos versus Darkseid. Going back to this episode, it's not as good as I remembered. There's like a lot of slow parts, surprisingly. The track's fine, but on its own, I'm not a big fan. It's a lot more better when supporting the episode, but it's still a pretty good episode overall. Honestly, I want to put this one in. It's honestly amazing. I want to put it like right around here. Honestly, I really do. I do like the episode. It doesn't hit as hard. Honestly, the best part is just Darkseid spending most of the episode just keeping his hands behind his back. It's great. Now we move on to Season 6. Season 6, we start off with Aquaman versus Namor. This was a pretty decent episode. It's like, it's not, it doesn't hit overall, like, compared to, like, others, but I go back to watch it a couple times. I'm honestly gonna put it, like, right here. Honestly, you only watch it really for Aquaman, you don't really watch it for Namor. Okay, the Mega Man Battle Royale. I remember when this initially debuted, I remember no one expected this one to really happen. And I know one of my friends was really happy because both EXE and Star Force actually getting a death battle was absurdly unlikely, yet they did. And he's also a huge Mega Man nut too, so this was like a episode that he loved. I'm honestly gonna want to give this one, but overall the episode is just like really fun. I guess there's also just, I know there's issues with like disrespecting Volnut, but the problem is Capcom disrespects Volnut too, so. So gonna put this, going back into this one, I honestly want to put this one in like Spectacular, like top of Spectacular. I really do like the episode. Black Widow versus Widowmaker. Again, no one expected this one, it's kind of an oddball, but I'm honestly just gonna put this one in good right here because it does a really good job with like the overall environment. There's some janky movements here and there, but it's pretty good when it comes to like overall environment and stuff like that. Captain Marvel versus Shazam. Honestly, the best part of the episode is just Billy winning. Like, honestly, should have been the Captain Marvel episode they should have done in the first place. So it's just. So honestly, ends on a bit of an anticlimactic note too. I'm actually just gonna put it like right there, really. Or actually, you know what? I'm gonna move the stuff around around like this. Yeah, I think that's a better placement for what I initially had. Okay. Going on, Wario Versus Ddd. A lot of people like this episode, and I do too, but I don't really like it as much compared to everyone else. Like, it's a fun episode, I'll give it that, but. And, like, yeah, the fart jokes are kind of painful, but this is a Wario. What did you expect? It's. I honestly just want to put it, like, here. It's not the absolute best, in my opinion, but I like what we get. Oh boy. Time, huh? Thanks for the tip. We get to probably one of the most infamous ones, Ben 10 vs. Green Lantern. And to everyone that's salty, I put it in I'm gonna put it in like top 10. Just like at the bottom. Cause like my only real issue is that there was like a waste of potential. Because Ben has so many other aliens they could have brought in, which obviously they couldn't do because for budget time and budget restraints. But at the same time, I feel like you could have like done at least a bit more, you know? Yeah, there's like a lot. There's like, we could have done a lot more when it came to aliens. Like, I heard Wrath was supposed to show up in the initial one, and the fact that they actually had to cut Wrath is, that's a sin. Like, honestly, I love the episode because I love Ben 10 and Green Lantern. And also just the memes are really funny, especially just how salty Ben 10 can get. But aside from that, it's just, they could have done a lot more with Ben, that's all I'm saying. Like, if this was like a finale tier episode, they could have gone all out and I would have been here for it. Weiss versus Mitsuru. This is honestly an underrated episode, I'll say. And I'm honestly just gonna put this one in, like, honestly just the amazing tier. I just wanna, like, yeah, I'm gonna put it, like, right here, actually. Maybe it's because I'm biased, because I love cross tag battle, but I just really like the choreography. The choreography is graceful, and just, like, Mitsuru's persona going up against Weiss's summons is just really well done. Especially, like, the segment where Weiss and the Armagigas fight Mitsuru and Artesia. That's really well done, because it's two one-on-one fights done simultaneously, and I really like how they handled it. Then we get to Johnny Cage versus Captain Falcon. This one's another just really, really fun episode. Like, it's kind of crazy, really. It's just like a wild ride the entire way. Man, I can't explain it. It's just really, really fun. I'm just gonna put this. I'll put it in terms of enjoyment. I'm gonna just put it in like the bottom of amazing. It's a really fun episode. I don't go back to it as much as I used to, but I still really like it. Aang versus Edward Elric. The fight starts because Ed got mad at Aang accidentally calling him short. That's a really good setup. Aside from it, it's kind of like just. It's honestly just, I don't really like the episode overall. Like, it feels like they could have done a lot more with it. They really don't, and that kind of just disappoints me. Going on, we have Ghost Rider versus Lobo. This is one of my favorite Marvel vs. DC episodes. I'm gonna put it in like right here. I love Ghost Rider, I love Lobo. It was just an incredibly wild ride and I love it. Dragon Zord vs. Mechagodzilla. This one gets a 9 out of 10 for me. If only because, I'm gonna say like, honestly, I'm gonna move it around like this. Yeah, like that. It's better than the other Godzilla episode, but the problem is, the thing that holds back Dragon Zord vs. Mechagodzilla is there's no setup to it at all. It's just start fighting, which, yeah, if they had like a bit of a setup, maybe I would have liked it more. But it's a good episode overall. Sasuke versus He. At first, I really did love the episode. But going back in hindsight, it's just, there are a lot of issues with it. But I'll give it like, I'm honestly gonna give it like a right there, and amazing. Like, the main problem is, like, the sword fight at the beginning is really cool, but after that, it's just throwing jutsu against ability, and it's just like, oh, who can throw out the big... It's like a RPG game. They're seeing who can throw out the bigger attack. Also, I believe the verdict is wrong for the episode, but most people don't care that the verdict's wrong because no one likes Sasuke, and I find that hilarious. Okay, then we move on to Ganondorf versus Dracula. First up with the Source Filmmaker team, and they did an unbelievably incredible job with it. I'm honestly gonna put this one right around here. I just really like the episode. Like, it's really well animated. There's some janky parts, but I really like the episode. Mob versus Tatsumaki. It's not terrible. Honestly, you know what? Actually, I don't like the episode too much, but it's just overall just like a really solid episode. I'm honestly gonna just like give it a right here. Honestly. Actually, you know what? In hindsight, I think I can move the things around like this. Yeah, I think that's a lot better. They managed to get off a lot of stuff with Tatsumaki as well. There's some drawing stuff like the weird different hand-drawn styles for both Tatsumaki and Love kind of clash, but because Festus Sensei changed it a lot, but it's pretty decent. Deadpool versus the Mask. Now, this was an incredibly mixed bag, because either people love it or hate it. There's like no in between. I'm honestly in the camp of I like this episode, actually. It was like a good conclusion to the Deadpool bit. Mixes both meme and as well as just like the more serious Deadpool that we know into like an overall solid episode. Also, just Deadpool's Majora's Mistake insult is one of the best we've ever gotten. It's great. All Might versus Might guy. Holy crap. This episode is amazing. Like, I can't express just how incredible the episode is. Like, it's not a regular death battle. Like, both All Might and Might are being friendly towards each other in the competition, and the fight just escalates from there. I just love that so much. And the song's great. It's an incredible episode. That's I can't say too much about it. It's just really good. Then we get into Miles versus Static. This one's an overall serviceable episode. It's just like, honestly, just top of good for me. It does puppet animation better than other episodes, but it does have issues. Black Canary versus Sindel. I think this one's just bad because its animation's fine. It has a lot of issues with like especially Sindel's hair, but I just don't really like it. I don't think anyone really even asked for this one either. Leonardo versus Jason. Or the Red Ranger. My for Red Ranger. This one's kind of an odd one because it's a bit slow. No, I mean it's a bit short. But I really like the feel they went. They made it feel like a retro video game, and the dialogue makes it sound like straight out of OG Power Rangers and TMNT. And I love it for that. This one honestly gets like a spectacular for me. I really love it. So it's just I love the retro feel they go for. Generals versus War Machine. I feel this one's kind of an overhated one. I actually really like this episode. Maybe it's because I'm a little biased, but because Generals is cool and I love War Machine. But I think hand-drawn's pretty solid for what we do get. I'm also gonna put this one like amazing. Actually, I really like this episode. Whenever I go back to watch it, being a bit generous with Sindel versus Canary. Well, I'm gonna be honest. I enjoyed the other episodes more. Well, actually, you know what? You're kind of right. I enjoyed Aang versus Edward and Joe versus Kenshiro more than Canary versus Sindel. Anyways, Gray versus Azeth. This one's another mixed reception. I think I've explained in the past how much I hate Akame ga Kill as a series. But at the same time, this one's like, it's not bad. It's honestly good. Has a really good song too, but I honestly just want to put it in like, I'm just gonna put this one in like, right there, honestly. Actually, no, I'll move it up a little bit. Yeah, I'm gonna move up a little bit, and then it's like my personal issue with Akame ga Kill as a series aside, it's okay. It has some puppet issues, but it's pretty fun. Goro versus Machamp. Perfectly, because the song's playing right now. Like, I'm putting this one in 10 out of 10. This is just a really great and fun and hilarious episode. And I love Machamp as a Pokemon. I'm honestly putting this one like, yes, dude, I'm gonna put it above Wolverine versus Raiden. I love Goro versus Machamp. It's fun. Okay, Cable versus Booster Gold. This I know people are complaining complaining about the whole Marvel vs. DC shtick, but this one's alright, honestly. I think this one's not as bad as the others. This Leonardo steals the show as Booster Gold. This is the same guy that voices Kotaro in Zombieland Saga, and it's great. I'm honestly just gonna put... let's see, this one goes in the bottom of amazing for me. It's a really fun episode. Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Kakashi. This is another matchup I've wanted for a long time. I don't mind the fact there's so many prequel memes in the episode, but at the same time, there are some glaring issues. But aside from that, it's just a stellar episode, and I'm gonna give it spectacular. Like, top of that, there are some glaring issues that do prevent it from being a 10 out of 10 for me, but I love the episode. Danny Phantom versus Jake Long. It's down into top of mediocre for me. It has some weird jank issues, and some scenes are slow. There are a lot of cool scenes, like the clones versus like the clone fight, but at the same time, it's just it is cool how Butch Hartman, piece of shit he might be. It is really cool how he did come onto like the Death Battle cast and everything. I don't think we've ever had any creator be like this into their show, their series getting in Death Battle since him, and that's pretty cool. Okay, She-Ra versus Wonder Woman. It's a bad episode. It's pretty, but no one asked for this. It doesn't really do much. It's just pretty much a normal ass sword fight. Despite establishing how strong the characters both are, it's pretty bad. Also, it's kind of depressing how all three of Wonder Woman's fights are 4 or lower. But anyways, Beerus versus Sam Galaxia. Now, this one's interesting because I like it. It does, it's honestly a weird middle area. It sells their how destructive they are, but at the same time doesn't. Like, yeah, they destroy like planets and stars and like meteors and stuff like that, but it's just doesn't click too much. It is pretty good, so I'll give it that. I'm honestly gonna put it like right above Goku versus Superman 2. Goku versus Todoroki. This one's another bad episode, unfortunately. The puppet animation was awful. They should have just used Jump Ultimate Stars style sprites for both of them, or I don't know. Like, the only thing that doesn't prevent it from being terrible, which is how I'd normally put it, is the fact they got Dante Bosco to reprise his role as Zuko. That's really cool. Anyways, Wally West versus Archie Sonic. This one was a bit of an absurd one, not gonna lie. It went pretty off the rails, but it didn't really do the speed part as well as like I remembered. It's top pretty good for me. It's just top pretty. It's just like top pretty good for me. I feel like they could have done a lot more with how stupidly broken both characters are, but what we got was good. Okay, the 7 Battle Royale. I don't know, I guess this one just happened because of sponsorship, but it was like pretty good from what I remember. Like, honestly, right around here, I'd give it. Just the laser baby being in there is incredible. Anyways. Winter Soldier versus Red Hood. I don't understand how come the episode wasn't called Red Hood versus Winter Soldier, which rolls off the tongue a lot better. Red Hood versus Winter Soldier, it's a huge improvement over Nightwing versus Daredevil when it comes to like live action. Honestly, don't have a lot of issues. I love this episode. I'm honestly gonna give it like, I'm honestly gonna put it in the best, like bottom of the best. I really love this episode because I love both Red Hood and Winter Soldier, and it's just like the storytelling element's really well done, especially like the part where Jason gets PTSD after getting hit in the head with the crowbar. Also, interesting thing that sells just how good it was done is that Winter Soldier's arms all CGI. It's not painted on. It's not a prop. No, that is all CGI, and it looks incredible. Venom versus Krona. This one's terrible. I just can't explain how bad it is, especially once it takes to the sky. Venom, a good chunk of like Venom's like added on parts for shapeshifting are really poorly done. Also, they should have. I guess Krona winning was the better option, but at the same time, they really. I guess they should have just went with the Kate stuff. Really. I guess another problem is just like. I guess Venom was just depicted as the typical villain. I guess you'd recognize it more for, but a lot of people I like the anti-hero / hero Venom a lot more. Also, the sound design is really terrible. Anyways, speaking of that sound design, Saber versus John Talbane. This one's actually one of my favorite episodes of season 7, and I'm gonna put in like spectacular, like right there. Actually, you know what? Yeah, like that, because the animation is incredible. It's incredibly brutal and everything. But the problem is the sound design is off. You don't hear slicing sounds. You hear wet thuds, which don't work. Like if they fixed the sound design, it would probably be at the best. But but like a good chunk of the sound design is questionable and doesn't really work as well as one could imagine. It's fine. It is still a pretty good episode, though. Red versus Blue. I think this episode gets overrated because, again, it's another same series one. But I really like it. It shows off the choreography, like, really, really well. Like, it's pretty good for me, honestly. I'm honestly gonna put it, like, right below Power Rangers versus Voltron. Batgirl versus Spider-Gwen is awful. Holy shit. I can't explain just... Honestly, I think I prefer Kang versus something. You know what? Nah, not that mean. It's just the animation's janky. No one wanted this episode. It's just bad. Next up, we have Sanji versus Rock Lee. Mediocre episode, honestly. I'm gonna put it like... I want to say like right above Raiden versus Twilight. I think the voice acting especially was kind of jarring. Like Yang does I think it was Yang who does Sanji does good, but Mark Phillips, you can tell Mark Phillips was having fun as Rock Lee, but his voice did not fit. It was Hulk versus Broly. Now, a lot of people love this episode and for good reason, but I'm honestly gonna give it like just pretty good. Like right here, honestly. The main issue with Hulk vs. Broly is the sound design is abysmal. Like, compare the sounds in Hulk vs. Doomsday to this, and it's like night and day. Like, this doesn't sell how destructive they can be because the sound design is so poor. There's a moment where a planet blows up and we don't hear anything. I can't even name the most impactful moment because there were barely any impactful moments. It's just kind of sad. It's a good episode in a lot of ways, but the sound design just drags it down a lot. And no, I don't care if people consider the verdict wrong. Dragon Ball Super Broly is a good boy, and he deserves the W. He deserves the dub. Anyways, now we get into the current season that just finished. Yoda versus King Mickey. This one's a fun one, if a bit janky in several areas. I think it might be an unpopular opinion, but I don't actually like this episode as much as other people like sing praises for. Maybe because I'm not as big as a fan of like other series. I'm familiar with Star Wars, not too much with Kingdom Hearts. It's just there's a lot of good stuff, I'll give it that, but it just doesn't hit as hard for me. Shadow versus Ryuko. This is Shadow's best episode. And I just love the track for it. The track is fantastic. And honestly, I'm gonna put this one in like right here. I really do like a lot of what the episode gave us. There's a lot of good details, but there are some more things they could have done done better, like characterizing Ryuko as like end of series instead of like early series. It's a good episode for what we got. Lex Luthor versus Doctor Doom. It has a lot of good stuff, but the problem is it's all the good stuff like comes from like Doctor Doom. Really, I don't really care much for Lex's side of things. It's okay though. Heihachi versus Geese. This one's a fun one. I think the voice acting is kind of mixed because Heihachi's voice is a little too like high pitched. Geese's English does get grating after a while, but I think this one's a solid episode. It gets in the pretty good tier for me. Like, I'm honestly gonna put it like a. I enjoyed it a lot. Blake versus Mikasa. Now, a lot of people don't like this episode, and I can understand that. But I like the episode because it's. But I actually really like the episode, and I'm going to put it up high to make people upset. Joking aside, I actually really find myself enjoying the episode. Surprisingly, like. I don't know why. Maybe it's because Blake's my favorite Ruby character, and I don't like Attack on Titan. But it's honestly a pretty solid. Like, yeah, there's the frame rate issue, but I feel like that was done. It's kind of funny. It's hard to explain. This one's mostly personal bias over the episode actually being good. That and Thunder Shroud's an incredible track. Going on, Iron Fist versus Poe. Now, this was an episode everyone loved when it came out, solely because it was Poe. But when you go back and look at it, that's actually another one of the episode's faults. It's like, hold on, I'm just gonna put it right here. Yeah, you don't watch it for Iron Fist. You watch it for Poe. Poe's pretty much doing the carrying for most of the episode. Like, it's good, but you just feel the blatant imbalance in like character bias. Now we get to Steven versus Star. Mediocre, honestly. I had some stuff that was going for it, but I'm gonna put it like I'm actually gonna put it a little lower than I remember. Yeah, like that. It has some stuff going for it, but I just don't really remember. It's like a bit of a short episode. They could have done a lot more, but yeah. Link versus Cloud Link versus Cloud 2. I really like this episode. Again, I do love both of the characters. I think my only issue is that they could have probably done a bit more with both of them. Yeah, I think if they did a bit more, there's some all odd animation errors here too, but it's still a really good episode. Right, I'm honestly gonna put it like, yeah, around there. There are some like, noticeable episodes of like noticeable jank and like missed opportunities, but it's fine. Now we get to the second half of season 8. Starting off with Batman versus Iron Man. I think the only thing that drags this down is Batman coming back for the third time, this 4th episode. But Tony really does help carry the episode. I was gonna put this one in like... I think the appropriate placement for this one is probably like this one's a bit of a tricky one to place, but I think I'll place it like right above versus Doctor. Right above, yeah. Like around there, honestly. It does do good stuff. The Hellbat sprite is incredible, and the Godbust's not bad either. The track's kinda cheesy, but yeah. Anyways, Goku back versus Reverse Flash. The only two things drag down the episode. Goku Black's analysis pacing is abysmal, and the matchup itself is kind of stupid. Aside from that, this is a phenomenal episode. Like, holy hell. Like, I'm putting this one, like, right around here. Like, it's incredible. This was when Death Battle season started getting its, like, groove back. Because every episode, because this is when they started bumping up absolute banger episodes. Like, then going back into it, I say that, but then the next episode immediately contradicts me. We have Macho Man vs. Kool-Aid Man. It's just like bottom of mediocre. It's just like mid-mediocre for me, honestly. I think what's selling. I do like the claymation. The claymation looks straight out of the old Kool-Aid commercials. That's incredible, but it was mostly just the Boomstick Dad episode, and that sucks. Anyways, now we go back to incredibly based with Dio vs. Alucard, which this was an episode I've wanted for a long time, and it absolutely delivered in so many ways. I'm honestly gonna put it right here. I love this episode so much because it doesn't treat it doesn't treat Dio as a pile of memes. It doesn't treat Alucard as just as a bridge self. It actually respects both characters. The verdict's well thought out, and the fight is incredibly long paced. It's an incredible episode. I love Dio vs. Alucard so much, and just that's another thing. The voice acting is phenomenal too. Takahata does a fantastic job as an actual serious Alucard, and Tom Skulk steals the show as Dio. Like, I think a lot of people do prefer him overall, like when it comes to like overall voice quality, and I have to agree there. Like, his Dio is incredible. And then, well, we'll continue. Yeah, I can't stop singing praises. I love this episode. Going on, Kuma vs. Shao Kahn was... It's not a good episode. I'm so... They just wasted a Kuma and Shao Kahn's returns on this really lame match. Like, I get it was requested back then, but Kuma has so many better matches and Kahn really shouldn't come back. But he did. I guess the best thing we got out of the episode is I got to make Kuma or Kuma jokes out of that, but it's just janky, missed opportunities. Akuma's model clashes with Khan's horrendously, settings bad. It's not a good episode. Korra vs. Storm. Now, this one was a surprising one, because everyone lowered their expectations when this one was announced, which is kind of funny. But it ended up being surprisingly pretty decent. Like, I'm gonna honestly put it, like, right around here, honestly. Like, there's a lot of good stuff going for it. They surprisingly don't make fun of Korra too much, from what I remember, and I like that. Even though I don't care much for Korra, and Storm's cool. It's pretty decent overall. Madara vs. Aizen. Incredibly based episode. This was an amazing episode. I'm putting this one, like, I'm feeling like right behind the Goku Black vs. Reverse match. I think the only thing that doesn't put it higher is the fact that I feel like they could have done more with them. There were a bunch of cutscenes too. But it's an incredible episode. Like, incredible. Like, I can't sell it enough. And finally we reach the end with today's episode, Popeye versus Saitama versus Popeye. And I'm just moving it all the way up here. I am not going to elaborate on why it's so good because the episode's only first exclusive at the moment. But when this episode drops on YouTube, man, this was an incredible episode. That's all I can really say for it. It's really, really good. And with that, after around an hour and 30 minutes, make that an hour 40 minutes actually, I have finished my ranking. Like, yeah, there we go. Yup. Man, that actually took a lot less time than I expected it to. I'm really glad I decided to go it alone, because if I had someone talking to me, this would have gone on for a lot longer. So yeah, that'll be my ranking for my favorite death. How I rank every death battle from season 1 to season 8. Thank you for everyone that joined in on this stream, and I guess I'll see you guys all next time. Thanks for dropping by.